Well, Joe, welcome to the program. Nice to catch up with you from the wonderful Pleasant Point. I remember it very well. How's things going at the moment? I know you've plenty of bull sales on.
We're just in the middle of our bull sales. Our big week is next week for the Angus bulls. It's a big week, probably for all of Canterbury, but we've got 3 in South Canterbury, particularly Monday, which is Kakahoo, Thursday Stern, and then Meddesley on Friday. They're 3 pretty big bull sales in the South Island, along with Tamani, which is not actually in my area, but up in the northern Canterbury, which is on the Thursday as well. So it's a big week for the Angus boys. And, you know, there'll be an excess of 500 bulls sold next week. That's one of the highlights of our season, really, at the end of the financial year. We always enjoy it. And even though there's a bit of stress at the time, we also quite enjoy the challenge as well. It's quite good.
And the Angus, the studs, they're going very well, obviously. You know, 500 bulls, that's quite a lot to go through, isn't it, for 3 sales?
Yeah, well, well, that's including the one in North Canterbury. We'd have probably about 300 of them in here. But yeah, it's a number, but they've been selling those that number for the last 5 years. And you always think that the number's too great, but at the end of the week, we've seemed to have sold, 90% of them anyhow, and they do sell well. The Angus are on a high at the moment. They're probably the most popular breed in New Zealand, especially in this neck of the woods, with 5-star beef just around the corner. And the Angus boys have done a great job over the last few years.
Are they spreading right through the country, or sort of concentrating in the South Island in terms of where the cattle actually end up?
We get buyers from the North Island, particularly the odd stud fella particularly comes down, pays good money for the better end bulls. But we do get a lot of commercial farmers from the North Island coming down as well, just to get these genetics. Some of these fellas some of these breeders have been doing this for a number of years now, and they're well renowned for their breeding and their genetics, and they're sought after throughout the country, really.
Now, of course, the weather's been a big topic in your neck of the woods. South Canterbury pretty much escaped the terrible flooding of a few weeks ago, unlike mid-Canterbury.
Dead right. We were actually going through one of our driest periods we've had for a number of years, going back quite a lot, especially in South Canterbury, more so than mid-Canterbury. We really hadn't had any significant rain, apart from 2 weeks at Christmas, even right back to COVID last year. Really, we're well down in our rainfall. And all of a sudden we had that big weekend where we got probably 6 inches in most places with a minimum, up to 20 inches in some places in the foothills of mid-Canterbury. While South Canterbury did escape most of it pretty well, with 1 or 2 floodgates going on some properties and a bit of deer fencing and things like that overall. But if you're in mid-Canterbury, and anyone that was boundary a river, or the major rivers there, they certainly felt the brunt of it and certainly got a lot of damage. And it'll take some time to repair too. So,
what's South Canterbury going? I mean, it's your parish, as it were. What's coming up in the near future for you guys?
Well, we're at pretty much at the end of our season. Really, we're coming into winter now, so the bull sales is really the last thing we have on our agenda. And then we just sort of work our way through to the spring, and then when the spring comes, we particularly in mid-Canterbury more than South Canterbury, a big part of our business is actually the lambs that get bought in the autumn and farmed through and then come out in the spring, from anything from September through to November. And that's a big part of our business and takes up a lot of our time. So once we get into sort of the middle of August, we'll be starting to get into that big part of our season. In South Canterbury, it's more of a breeding province, and therefore we tend to just this is certainly our quietest time of the year. Once, as I said, we get past these bull sales, a few dry ewes coming out after scanning and things like that. We really don't sort of crank up again till the stall lambs come out in November as such, really.
But Tamuka, I know the big sale is each week in Tamuka on a Monday. It's a huge sale, isn't it? It's biggest in the South Island.
Yeah, it is the biggest in the South Island now, and what has made it one of the biggest sales there is basically the catchment we're now drawing, or 2 reasons really: the catchment we're drawing stock from, and also the fact that we're on right next door to mid-Canterbury, which is probably the biggest trading area in New Zealand now. Well, I believe it is anyhow, and there's a lot of water there, so those fellas do a lot of trading. There's not so much breeding stock there now, and most of it's all down to trading, and Tamuka's right on their back doorstep. So we're probably drawing 25%, 30% of our stock Tamuka now probably comes out of even mid Canterbury and South Central Otago, should I say. Especially at this time of the year, the last 6 weeks, we've had big yardings of store lambs just coming from the Central Otago every week. They seem to use it now as the place where they sell a lot of their stock at this time of the year. And I think they just come simply, as I said, because they're right next door to mid Canterbury.